shooting deer this weekend. Far from it, probably. But if you were, what's one thing you'd want to know about your insurance before you head out in the woods to chase those whitetail?
Well, I'm out there with my deer gun. Want to make sure that if that thing gets stolen from my truck, that it's going to be covered. So I'm thinking about my ammo, my gun, my sleeping bag, all my extra equipment. If
Mhm.
that stuff happens to go missing, whether it's stolen from my truck or stolen from the cabin or the tent that I'm staying in, does my home insurance apply to that?
That's a great question, right? The climbing equipment, the tree stand, all the gear that you've got for your big hunt. Yeah, that's a great question, right? And generally the answer is yes. Your personal property coverage in your home insurance policy is generally going to apply to that type of property. If it's stolen from your truck, from your car, from the cabin, from your buddy's makeshift tent, the one limitation being typically firearms has a lesser coverage amount available for theft. So if you have expensive firearms, if that deer gun that you have is worth, 5 grand, 8 grand, 15 grand, that's something that you want to address separately. But the rest of the gear typically going to be covered by that personal property coverage. Number two, let's say that your stuff doesn't get stolen, but you're out there ready for the big weekend. What's one more concern or one more thing you'd want to know about your insurance plan as you're heading out for the big weekend?
Yeah, well, I'm the one that owns the property. I've got the deer camp and the cabin. All my buddies come up there and we're having a couple adult pops and building a fire and playing cards. And the next morning, they're out there climbing up into the deer stands on my property, maybe, wrestling with some barbed wire and whatnot. And I'm probably a little bit concerned if one of them happens to fall off of one of those deer stands, or maybe there's a misfire in one of the firearms and someone gets hit by that. I feel like I've got some liability exposure by having everybody onto my property. And even if I don't own the property, if I'm allowing them to use some of my equipment, like my blind or my deer stand, I'm a little bit nervous about that too. So I'm concerned about injuries.
That's a great point as well, right? And often overlooked is the fact that when you're out hunting, whether it's your accident, God forbid you have a firearm accident that injures someone else, or if something goes wrong on your property, right? Maybe you have 40 acres, 80 acres, 200 acres. You might not know everything that's going on your property. And if someone else gets hurt while they're on your property, doesn't seem fair, but you're probably going to get named in a lawsuit. So that's where your liability coverage comes into play. It's going to be part of your home insurance policy. If you have an umbrella insurance policy, that's going to be on the table as well. So that's a great comment, Derek. Something certainly to be cognizant of, and a really easy thing to obtain adequate coverage for. Now, number three, maybe less concerning here, but what's one more thing that you would be checking in your insurance plan before you head out for opening day?
Well, I'm thinking back to Duck Dynasty and some of those other hunting shows that I like to watch in all my free time. Paige loves when we turn those on and just really pour into them. And a lot of times they're using ATVs. If they happen to get that big buck, a lot of times they'll, haul it out of the woods on one of those things. And
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned that, you know, maybe I happen to have an accident with that ATV with a buddy or, riding on the back and he gets hurt, or maybe I hit somebody's truck that's parked on my property with that ATV and now I'm responsible for 3 or 4 grand of repairs to their bumper or their headlights, stuff like that. So I'm curious about coverage for those motorized toys I'm going to have up at
Smart.
deer camp.
Yeah, smart. And it's something you should confirm, right? You should add specific coverage for that off-road vehicle, right? It's the gator, it's the quad, it's whatever it is that you're using on that property or maybe away from your property. You want to make sure at a minimum you have liability coverage in case something goes wrong, and probably want to have coverage for damage to that off-road vehicle as well. It's easy to obtain. Just make sure that that's still in place. Sometimes those policies or those coverages can fall through the cracks over time. Make sure that that's in line before you get out there and start hauling things around with that ORV. Well, thanks, Eric, for the intel. I know you won't be out there this weekend, but for those of us that will, best of luck to all the Michigan deer hunters. Be safe, be successful, have a good time being outdoors, taking advantage of all the natural resources that we have here in Michigan. Enjoy yourself, spend time with friends and family, and be safe. If there's anything that you need input on or a new perspective with your insurance plan, just want to make sure things are buttoned up the way they should be, we at Bor Insurance Group are here to help. Please feel free to reach out. Thanks, Derek.